750 is a cap on state ordinances.
Thank you.
Call to order the Village of Hinsdale Board of Trustees special meeting for January 2nd, 2024. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a short special agenda tonight. The first item up is citizens' petitions. If anybody's here on a matter that is unrelated to the agenda item, now's a chance to speak. Okay, and that takes us to our agenda item, and I want to thank all the trustees for coming to the special meeting, and Happy New Year to everybody. So the special item is the approval of an ordinance amending the Village of Hinsdale Village Code in regard to chartered buses and unscheduled stops. Starting on December 22nd, which was just 3 days before Christmas, Hinsdale began receiving, unannounced, busloads of migrants from Texas who are being dropped off at or near Hinsdale's main train station so that they could take the train from Hinsdale to Chicago. These drop-offs started because Chicago, which is a sanctuary city, passed an ordinance restricting the flow of buses of migrants directly to the city from Texas. We were initially told that the inflow of buses to Hinsdale would last 7 days. But we've recently been advised by a bus driver that unless we do something, these buses will keep coming, unannounced, at least through March, if our southern border continues to remain open. As of yesterday, we had 11 unannounced busloads of migrants dropped off in Hinsdale. So that's 11 buses in 11 days. While so far there have been no problems, we want to forestall any problems that are clearly foreseeable. To date, all busloads of migrants who have arrived in Hinsdale have boarded the trains for their destination, Chicago, without incident. However, we and the police department are not equipped to handle migrants, much less large group of migrants that appear in Hinsdale unannounced should there be any complications. As the weather turns dangerously cold, migrant drop-offs unannounced in Hinsdale could endanger lives. But these aren't problems that just relate solely to weather. If migrants are dropped off in the evening after the last train to Chicago, migrants could be stranded in Hinsdale all night before they get transported to Chicago. And even if trains aren't working, there could be a problem. And having commuted to Chicago from Hinsdale for 40 years, I know that there are frequent times when the trains aren't working. And migrants could be stranded in Hinsdale for long periods of time. Hinsdale does not have the resources to handle such situations, even in good weather. Consequently, I propose that we pass an ordinance, which is like ordinances that have been passed by other Chicago suburbs, and require 5 days advance notice and completion of an application that, among other things, requires an explanation of how the migrants will be cared for before a busload of migrants can be dropped off in Hinsdale. The penalty for violating the ordinance will be a $750 fine, which is a maximum fine we can levy under state law. And we also have the power to seize and impound buses that violate our ordinance. The proposed ordinance is not a ban on buses. Buses will be permitted to come to Hinsdale if they comply with the new ordinance. That said, it is our understanding that following the adoption of similar ordinances, these sensible ordinances by other Chicago suburbs that require reasonable advance notice of bus arrivals and a plan of action, the inflow of busloads of migrants to those suburbs have stopped. The buses then go to suburbs that do not have ordinances. So if we adopt an ordinance, we can expect that the inflow of busloads of migrants to Hinsdale will stop. So I'd be happy to hear from any residents concerning this proposed ordinance. But I attended a similar meeting in Clarendon Hills that was shortly before Christmas, and there were residents who were given an opportunity to speak, and they wanted to talk about the U.S. Immigration policy, Chicago's sanctuary city policy, federal policy, state of Texas policy, Governor Abbott. We're not here to talk about those. Everybody has very strong views on those subjects, and we do not set federal policy. We do not set policy for the city of Chicago. We do not set policy for the state of Texas. So if you want to talk about this, I would appreciate you keeping your comments limited to our ordinance, because that is all we, Hinsdale, can really control. So if there's any residents who'd like to speak to this, I'd be happy to hear from you now.
First of all, thank you to the board for meeting tonight. Thank you, Tom, for what you just said. I think you said it eloquently and to the point. I commend you. My one question is, why can't we just prohibit them from coming here and having any buses? Is there any way to go straight to that, or is that not possible?
Well, I don't know constitutionally whether we can do that. I think, as I've said, this ordinance requires 5 days. The ordinance is not all that much different than the ordinance the city of Chicago has.
Okay.
Which has caused buses to go to the suburbs. I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think that their ordinance doesn't prohibit buses, it just requires advance notice of buses. That's precisely what we're saying. So that's, that has the effect of stopping the buses from coming. But this is really an ordinance that requires advance notice. And from a public safety point of view, that's my primary concern, is if unannounced buses will no doubt lead to problems I just don't want to have.
Right. I would just echo a few things you said on behalf of quite a few people. Number one, our police are doing a great job. Let them do their job and worry about other things, including the safety of everyone in this village. Number two, I ride the train every morning. I was on this morning at 7 o'clock with a gentleman and his 8-year-old child, and he was very concerned that she was going to contact an illness that maybe one of the migrants or illegals, whatever you want to call them, had brought along. Number three, I have heard from people that they were wandering around Hinsdale. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I didn't see it with my own eyes. I was out of town. But I have heard that some did not get on the bus. It's just something that everybody should be super concerned with. And if the mayor doesn't want them in Chicago, but it's a city, it's his problem, not ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, come on up to the microphone. And when you come up, can you please say your name and your address?
Well, I don't live actually in Hinsdale, but
Well,
I
just say
wanted
your
to
name.
Hi, my name is Gina. I actually live in Westmont, so their meeting's next week, so I have no idea what they're gonna do. So I thank you for doing this. But my question is, I know you said there's no policy issues, but since Illinois is a sanctuary state, I had called the governor's office last week talking about this issue. And they said we can, if we talk to our Congress people, but we can get an initiative on the ballot to make Illinois to ask the question, do we want to be a sanctuary state?
Right.
And I think that's another route we could go as elected officials too. We could look into that matter to verify how the state of Illinois can ask that question if we want to be a sanctuary state anymore.
Right.
So I think that could be another initiative maybe you guys can look into as well. And I'm going to tell the same thing to Westmont
Okay.
and a few of the people that are running for office and stuff. But I think that's a big initiative that we could start ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Nick Skokna. I live in the town of Hinsdale, and
You were here for the Land Rover thing.
yes, I was. I wanted to say that I do a lot of work with Mother Teresa's nuns in downtown Chicago. So I would go to the police stations in Chicago, and I met these families. And I live in Hinsdale, but we were able to take a couple of these families, get them an apartment in Oak Park, got them a job. But I really think I want people to know people of Hinsdale care. Some of us have been successful, and we really want to help. But just to start bringing them into the town of Hinsdale and not really have a solution, I guess I want the media to understand that. The people in Hinsdale care, and we really are trying to help them. But you can't just have this open door policy down in the border. You got to close the border to stop the chaos.
Right, well said. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Yes.
Tom, I'd like to thank the board as well for convening so quickly. It's an important issue. To the last gentleman's point, which I appreciate, we're a compassionate community. I think, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Within the boundaries of the law.
Right.
And this is not lawful from the time these folks are entering this country. 2 points of clarification. I was wondering, what's the average number of illegal migrants on the buses? Because you mentioned 11 buses
Yeah,
so
I think
far.
it's around 30 or 35. Is
About
that
30 or 35?
45,
45.
yes.
And what is the, you said the ordinance would call for 5 days' notice. Where's that notice coming from?
The notice would be to us. It's
Right.
an application, and then the notice, they would have to give us advance notice. Fill out an application, submit it to the village, submit it to the police chief, and then we could approve it or not approve it.
Who's
From
providing?
the carrier, for the bus carrier.
The bus carrier?
Yes, right.
Okay. And what,
Because we would be seizing the buses or finding the buses, so it would be the carrier that would get the note, would
okay.
have to provide us with notice.
So if they fail to notify us
Right,
and a bus shows up in
Right.
off hours,
right.
are we certain that we can address that
Yeah,
at
oh
that
yeah,
time?
yeah, just like we do any, enforcing any ordinance in the city. So,
Okay.
and it's not just off hours, this would be all hours, right? There are hours in which if you fill out an application and it's approved, there are specific hours for drop-off. It would coincide with the train schedule and as Liz McCloy mentioned, we have a limited police department. To the extent we have police officers watching groups of migrants to make sure that they are safe and get on a train, to the extent we have another incident in Hinsdale, we don't have adequate police.
Right.
So if somebody will fill out an application, which to my knowledge hasn't been done yet, in connection with, by any carrier with any suburb, would give us the opportunity to have adequate police staffing and to manage it. So I don't know that's ever gonna happen, but it would give us the opportunity to do those things.
Okay. Well, I think the concern, at least my concern is, as you said, with winter, really, it's gonna set in sooner or later. We're gonna get some really cold weather.
Right.
If these individuals are dropped off at an off hour and the train isn't running and they're desperate and they need shelter and they need food, it concerns me.
Well, it concerns us
What
all.
activity might
It concerns
happen,
us all
right?
greatly.
And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Greg Rivoli, and I've been a Hinsdale resident for about 13 years.
Right. Thanks, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name's Tim Bessler. I live on 222 Justina Street in Hinsdale and been a resident for 33 years. Did I understand you correctly? The penalty, what was the $75 penalty?
For having a bus that has not been approved.
So in other words, the bus company is only out $75?
750,
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
75.
Oh, 75, 750. Yes.
Per person.
Per person?
No, per bus, per bus.
Per
So-
bus?
Yes.
That's, that's the maximum you can
Yes.
do. It seems kind of frivolous. Bus company could
Well, we
easily.
also have the right to impound the bus.
Agreed. Are you aware of that being done by any of the neighboring communities?
No, I'm not, but I think that my understanding is a 750 comes from we are a non-home rule community. So unlike other larger municipalities that are home rule, they have a lot more leeway to make rules than we do. We can make a certain number of rules and the rest are governed by Illinois statute. So we impose the maximum fine that we're permitted to impose in connection with this.
Okay, appreciate the clarification and appreciate you guys having the meeting.
per passenger.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It's $750 per passenger, so that is a hefty fine.
$75 per passenger?
$750 per
per-
passenger, so multiply that by 45 passengers and you've got a
Okay.
pretty hefty fine.
That sounds a little more believable. I was like, if the company doesn't, okay, the bus company says, we're not paying that, the people have already been dropped off here, what happens?
Well, we will enforce the ordinance like we would in connection with anybody that is a scofflaw. The police
Even though
department
it's an
address that.
out-of-state bus company?
Oh, we assume that they're gonna be out-of-state bus companies, right? Because they're coming from Texas.
Okay.
And we would impound the bus.
We can impound the bus too.
Okay, thank you for having this meeting, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Michelle Patak. I'm a Hinsdale resident for maybe the past going on 8 years. I have some questions. When these buses had been coming into town, have you guys been taking like record of who these people are or
No.
anything?
No, it's been very quick. They come in, Oftentimes, they have train passes with them.
Okay.
The train's coming within an hour, typically, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so they just are taken immediately to the train station and get on the train. They don't go through any kind of process in Hinsdale.
Okay. Are you also aware that they're wearing ankle bracelets?
I am not aware.
So I was there and I was taking video, and there were two men that were wearing ankle bracelets. I was told that it's for monitoring, but for whom? I guess if you're 18 or older, you are provided with a cell phone, so that's a way of tracking. But only two men had ankle bracelets on. So I would like to know who those two men were that were coming through town and if they were criminals. And why are we transporting criminals with children?
Yeah, the buses come unannounced, and the best thing we can do is send them to Chicago as quick as we can. Now we've passed an ordinance that we hope will stop the buses or have them fill out an application to get approval.
So this ordinance is passed, or you're gonna go meet on it now?
No, we're gonna pass it tonight.
God bless you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, thank you everybody for coming tonight. My name is Cheryl Zimmer, and I've been a resident of Hinsdale for going on 28 years. And my family's seen many buses come through, landing right at the Hinsdale train station with, like you said, the 30, 35 people coming off. Several times they've just been sitting there for quite a bit, and they've been odd hours we would never expect. Early in the morning, late at night when nobody's around. One bus my daughter saw came in from Ohio. Why would you go from Texas to Ohio to Hinsdale? Makes no sense. So there's got to be more different ways they're coming in through, which is another part. And also I'm very concerned, there's a lot of children who hang out downtown Hinsdale. News agency, all the little kids. You know, we're talking 7, 8-year-old. Migrants come off the bus, what happens if something goes wrong? We also have a parking deck behind us. Kids can go like that. I mean, this has to be buttoned down somewhere.
Yep.
Or even stronger laws for the government, because this is just ridiculous.
Right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
My name's Janelle Town, and I'm a Western Springs resident, but I came here the other night with a couple of our friends, and I did a live video. It's on my Facebook. It's under Janelle Powell. I made it public, so if you want to watch the whole thing, where I questioned the handlers of these people because it seemed nefarious to me. They show up, and they've got summer clothes on, and they're giving these government-issued blankets standing outside. Well, when I started to ask them important questions like, why are they coming through Hinsdale at all if they're just going to the city to get picked up by another bus to take them to the airport? That doesn't make sense. Why isn't the bus just dropping them off at the airport? And I could get no answer on that. But you could see it on my Facebook if you want to watch it. But there's 5 parts. So I followed the bus after they dropped them off and after I watched everybody get on the train. And that bus dropped the 2 handlers off at O'Hare. So why couldn't they just take everybody? Something is not adding up. So I think as elected officials, maybe that's something you might want to explore. So
Okay,
that's
thank
all.
you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, going once, twice, 3 times. Okay, any trustee comments?
I just have a couple, Tom.
Sure.
Under Section 2B1, we talk about the application shall be, submitted 5 calendar days. I guess I'd like a little more specificity. It should be, I think, received by the police chief 5 days before they're doing it, or, because, if somebody sends it out, send it out regular mail, and we don't get it
Okay,
in
we can
time.
add that.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
add that, we can add that to the draft. You want to just pencil it in? I'll put it on my draft.
And then,
So where's that at? Let's make sure we got it.
yeah, B1 under Section 2.
5 days prior notice of the date of disembarking, which we add.
It would be good, I think the police chief needs to get it within 5 days of when they
Okay,
plan
which
to-
shall be received.
Upon receipt, yeah.
To be provided to the police chief within 5 days. Okay,
And then moving down that Section 2 to paragraph 4 on the next page, about the 5th line, we say within 4 calendar days after receiving a completed application. the chief of police inform, I think we need a shall there,
Okay,
shall
yeah.
inform the applicant.
Okay,
So, just showing you I was reading it.
okay.
That's it.
Anything else? Okay, do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to waive the first reading and approve an ordinance amending the Village of Hinsdale Code in regard to charter buses and unscheduled stops.
Second.
With the additions that Neil made.
Correct, the edits that Neil provided.
Okay. Anybody else? Roll call vote?
Trustee Pashima? Trustee Braden?
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Bean?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Do we have to?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Pashima?
What's that? Yes, right now, as soon as I sign it. Do we have a vote?
We just,
Motion to adjourn,
motion
second.
to adjourn, we got a second?
Roll call vote.
No, hold on.
Just one
Yeah,
second.
we just need to adjourn.
Trustee Pashima? Trustee Braden?
We're in the middle of a motion meeting. We're just trying to adjourn the meeting. Sure.
Go ahead.
Aye.
Trustee Stifler?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Burns?
Aye.
Trustee Bean?
Aye.
Thank you.